I'm gonna start streaming in right now.
Wait, we're streaming this?
Oh boy, this rip is so good.
How
Yeah,
did you
this
not
is a
realize?
stream thing.
Wait, safe for work or not safe for work mode?
50-50.
Oh god. Okay, I'm loading, everything's all fuzzy.
Yep, just give it a second, it
Shit.
should up-res for you.
All will be clear soon enough. So I had Monty Python go off, then I had the General Lee go off, then Monty Python again.
Comer un poco el hueso.
Si sabes que eso es lo que tiene, es proteína en el hueso.
So I just hear Spanish in someone's background.
Really?
Um,
Hola amigo, ¿cómo estás?
Mother, stop.
Hola.
Okay.
Hola, Mrs. Scrat.
Stop eating my Nutella!
Oh, I love Nutella. Nutella on a spoon is an old family pastime as well. If you don't have any chocolate in the house, a spoon of a Nutella is the way to go.
See,
Yeah. Or a cup just full of Milo and a few drops of milk.
Ooh, that's good. That's good.
No, what you do is you get a humongous cup full of Milo, you put a shot of milk in it, and you churn it like butter. It'll make
Yeah,
chocolate
yeah,
slide.
exactly.
Shooter McCherry says, still fuzzy.
Because it's still fuzzy for me. I'll just reload it, right? I'll refresh.
Yeah, try refreshing.
what are we supposed to be seeing? I don't know what we're supposed to be seeing.
The map.
Oh, yeah, no, it's fine.
Yeah, sometimes Roll20 just
What do you...
doesn't load images.
What do you
real
guys-
And
fast,
I'm
especially
linked
when
on
they're big,
the
high-res,
live.
huge
Yay.
images.
Salad is not the best thing to eat while lying in bed.
Are you lying on your side?
On my stomach.
That's hot.
Not the stomach's okay. If it's on your side, not exactly the
Eating
best.
while lying down is not a good thing.
Eh.
I kind of found that if you're lying on your stomach and you try to eat afterwards, you tend to have it all come back up.
Well, I've been doing this like every Sunday for the last however many months we played our last game for, so
Yeah,
I
I'm
think
pretty
it's
sure
fine.
that's just a you thing.
Fair enough. The Good, the Bad, and the Pony has been brought to you by these strange ways of eating your vegetables. Back to the studio. Wait a minute. We
Does
are the
making them count?
studio.
Hey.
Wait, does drinking my vodka count?
Yeah, vodka's a
I
vegetable.
have no idea.
I'm still waiting for it to clear up. Is that normal?
No. You've
Probably give it a
probably just
refresh.
got bad internet.
Another
Refresh.
refresh. Refreshing again.
Prepare to fast forward.
Mm,
We're told to comb the desert, so we're combing it.
We ain't found shit.
we gotta
I love
spend a
that
day searching each and every individual square
Yes.
on the map.
I am officially with sight and I can see things,
Hey.
which is good things.
Then let
Consider
us
me
do the
officially
beginning
in
of...
and ready and comfortable
All
and
right.
horny.
I've
Are
been
you
needing
a
that
unicorn?
all
that
along.
last bit in, didn't you? You had to
You what,
add
sorry?
that last bit in.
Well, you know, I actually found a lot of. Apparently, they're allowing a lot more NSFW games on Steam now, so there's a whole bunch of raunchy shit.
Oh god damn it, Matt.
Ah.
Well, I'm not gonna
Praise
take advantage
the
of that.
Steam!
Uh,
Praise the Steam! For the horny tribes of the world.
It's only baby steps, but it's a good step in the right direction.
Well, I
So,
mean,
now that I'm no
I'm not
longer
sure if
muted
playing
and
the whole
everyone can
space
see the
series-
screen, let us do the beginning of.
Let's do it.
So, this is the world of the Mild West. It is... You are the dogs, a group of cowboy, paladin, Judge Dredd figures who are basically the enforcers of the religion of the Book of Life in the Mild West, which it wasn't exactly touched upon in the show, but it's kind of hinted at that the reason they settled south was because if they wanted to make their own religion and get away from the empirical rule of some sun god BS. It's completely fake. Doesn't make any sense. Ignore the fact that the sun and moon can go up at random intervals and are clearly controlled by anyone. That's just hysteria.
Neat.
It's all a lie!
The 5 of you, and despite the fact that the last episode had 3 of you, the 5 of you have just come from Terra Firma, the capital of the Mild West, and whatever this region is called. You've been given a mission to head down to the Windless Delve, and give me a second.
Oh no, being a valve.
Yep.
To adjust my map.
Nope. So yeah, you've been given a mission to head down to the Windless Delve down here, which is for quite a long ways away, like about
At least
3-4
82 square.
weeks.
Square.
But to do that, you've got to stop at Wild Flame and all of the small unmarked settlements on the way. Because it's too far to go a direct route. And last game, we had halfway to Wild Flame, there was a small town that you're going to be stopping at. It's unmarked because it's only like 50 to 100 people living there. And the night before you got there, you had an encounter with a weird creature that was standing on top of the tree, just large black silhouetted above it. It looked like it didn't have a head and just had 2 glowing red eyes on its chest. When you tried to do anything to it, it opened its wings, just single flap, and burst into the air.
Well, we kind of fall on our asses.
Yep.
And it was something that Storm Chaser recognized from a previous encounter.
And Fernando didn't see it, and you guys didn't tell him about it because Fernando was asleep.
After that, you finally made it to the
I was too
town
drunk to
of
care.
Liberty the next morning. And as you can see, there are now 5 players instead of just 3.
Okay, who's got the doctor token and who's got the other token?
Well, and on that note, why don't we just do a little brief introduction of the new characters? Shooter McCherries, why don't you give us a description of your character?
Well, you see, my backstory with being rich and very easy to remember. I was raised by Sheriff Silverstar back in Tandor. I grew up learning the meaning of law and always knew how to do the right thing. And I'll eat hay burgers every chance I get. That's about it.
And how exactly did you join the dogs?
I heard they were doing good things that are good, and the bad guys were not, so I thought, these guys are good guys and I'll join them in their quest for good.
Sure, let's go with that.
Sounds good.
And Dr. Huza Medic, why don't you describe yourself?
Well, I graduated from Cantaloupe Medical School at the young age of 20. My mentor was Dr. Gentlehooves. He was essentially my supervising physician, and I joined the dogs, I guess, by Brother Woofer, a medical officer of the dogs, quote unquote. I guess I'm just in the Wild West trying to do what I can, or ish.
So, during your introduction to the way of the dogs, what is something that you wish you had overcome during your training? Like, become a better medic, become one with the law, or something like that. Basically, what was something that during your dog-like training you wished to achieve?
Well, I reckon probably would have been something along the lines of maybe being able to handle my magic a bit better, especially when it comes to healing, because I'm not used to having to heal battle wounds, more rather just simple broken bones and that sort of thing.
I reckon part of your training in that would have been... Well, it's not so much your training so much as the event happened where someone seriously got wounded by an accidental gunshot to the... just right through the cutie mark, through the other cutie mark.
Oh.
So why don't we get you a good introduction into how this game works by taking you over to the conflict page. We're going to do our first conflict of how you dealt with that situation all those years ago.
Oh, great.
And hopefully this is loaded for you and isn't horribly blurring.
Uh,
I'll take your silence as a yes.
Looks good.
So
I
there are
mean,
4 attributes to this game. Your heart, your body, your will, and your acuity. You use heart and body for physical stuff. You use a body and will for fighting, will and acuity for shooting, and acuity and heart to talk. And I reckon this is... I'm not sure if it would be halfway between physical and talking, because you're not really doing hard work, which is what physical is, but you're not really just talking either. So I reckon, why don't we use... We should open up your character sheet for starters.
oh, yay. Sweet. Alright.
I love the soundtrack. It rules.
There's a soundtrack?
You can hear it. It's beautiful. It's
I
just
can't hear it.
Just because we can't hear it doesn't mean it's not there.
It's in all of our hearts.
So let's just say this is more of a physical thing. So that would be in your character sheet. There's a button up the top for physical. You can just press that and it'll roll it. When you press it, however, it'll ask for, I believe, any traits that you have that can help you with this situation, which Healy Magic would probably be one of them, as well as Surgical Knowledge would probably be a good one as well.
Yes, I'm trying to find the character sheet.
So up in the top right, there's a second tab, is Journal. Click on that and your character should just be there.
Oh yeah, I see it now. So I click physical,
Yep,
and now it says input value. What's that all
that
about?
is the traits. Have you got any traits that relate to this situation? Which Healy Magic would definitely be one. And
So that'll be
probably Surgical
1d6.
Knowledge as well. You can put in 2 by pressing... Well, they're both d6s, so you could just put 2d6. But if they were separate, you could put 1d6 plus 1d4 if it was a d4 stat.
Right. And now it's telling me relationship.
Yep, the next one is relationships. Do you have a relationship with the person who got shot?
Not really, no.
Well, I reckon you do. In fact, this is Brother Hoofer. Woofer, not Hoofer.
Hoofa, yeah. Alright, then that would be a 1d6.
Yep. And then there's miscellaneous. I don't think... Actually, you're using a medical kit, which is... It's a basic medical kit. You've got that, so add another d6 just for a standard item.
Just one sec. The web page is not loading.
Yeah, you gotta love that.
Might have to reload. Just give me a sec.
I'm supposed to be more third world Australian internet. What you guys?
Also, good news, it doesn't sound like Rebecca's the one who's getting mic problems this week. It is whoever just talked before. Scratch, I
Matt.
think it was.
Okay, what do I do for the input value for the MISC?
That
would
was-
be,
You're using the medical kit, so that you have in your inventory, so I reckon you can add an extra d6 for using that item.
yeah, that'll do, I guess. 1d6. Okay, there we go.
There you go.
It disappeared.
Yeah, so now down the bottom in the bottom right, you've got a roll of what you just rolled.
Oh god.
Now, this is where it gets a bit complicated. Now I'm going to need you to... Actually going to get rid of all of these dice off the side here. click on each individual number in the squares, because that's the dice. Click and drag that onto the screen, up on the top area.
Wait, what? So each individual number to the screen.
Yep, it's going to take a while, but it can be done pretty fast. And while you're doing that, I'm going to roll mine.
Okay.
Nah.
Part of your roll.
Oh, that's... Those are some high rolls you're going to be up against.
43 against 44. I think the 44 wins.
Not necessarily.
40 10s and 46s. Ooh. Well, that's gonna hurt.
So, also, I would recommend changing your colour. You can do that by down where your name is in the bottom of the screen. You can click on the patch next to it and change the colour to something that, for some reason, even though it's orange, is almost identical to my red ones. Just look at that.
I'll go for grey.
It won't change them now, but later on it'll do so. So I'm just going to arrange these in size order for you.
I think I may have put an extra 3 there by accident.
So the way this game works is I will start, as I'm the one who's starting this conflict, by putting 2 dice in. And you have to use your dice to try and match or beat that. You have to do so... Ideally, you want to do so with 1 single dice. But you're allowed to use 2, and anything above 3 is bad. It's how you take damage. But the way you get experience and level up, essentially, can only be done by taking damage. So it's not always a bad thing, but rather you have to take a bad result to get a good result.
Oh, that sounds fair enough.
I think I've figured out what's happened in this, and that is that Dr. Woofer has been teaching you about medicine and all that, but he's also been teaching you to shoot as part of your introduction to being a dog. He's probably on the 5th round of his gun, getting all complete bullseyes on the target that's like 100 meters away, and the 6th shot just backfires, and he blasts. The gun just explodes. The barrel shatters, and he has just got fragments of steel and iron and gunpowder in his hoof, and he is bleeding heavily. And that is going to start with a nice 11. Now, the way this works is the stakes are he is going to lose his hoof if you can't do this. So, now, I raise. You have to use as few dice as possible to meet this number, and then these are cleared off the board once that happens. Then you raise by telling me what you do to stop this. And also in the raising to meet this, you tell me how you do that. So it's so numbers, but it's more story driven.
Okay, well, Okay, so there is 10 there. Wait, is it 11?
It's 11.
Okay, there. Now 11.
Yeah, like I said, he's just blasted his hand open with a backfire. How do you respond to that?
Well, first things first, I gotta stop the bleeding, then making sure I apply healing magic as I cast my foresight to be able to see where the metal parts are as I slowly pull them out while I heal.
Yeah. So that's how that first bit went. Well, I shouldn't have undo. Move them to the side of the cleared area. So those will go over there because they've been settled. However, seems you used 3 dice instead of just 2. That is Fallout, which we'll deal with later. And they go into this nice bloody area over here.
Oh, great.
So now it's your turn to raise and see if I can... Yeah, you have to raise and tell me how you do that. Like, what are you doing to stop the bleeding, get the wound, you know. Just describe what you're doing and raise. You can raise with up to 2 dice.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna put a 10 down. And essentially I start using my healing magic as I use my scalpel and my tweezers to pull out the metal bits. And I'm stopping the bleeding by using a tourniquet to, like, stop the circulation in his arm.
Yeah, you're doing that, and it does stop the bleeding quite a lot. However, not quite enough, as he begins to feel woozy and just passes out. Now, this one
Oh,
seems
no.
I matched with just 2. Neither of us take any result, and these are just resolved. He has passed out, and he kind of begins to heave just a little as, like, as he's unconscious.
Oh. Oh dear.
You've got your 5, so I've put one up there.
Oh. Thanks, Beck.
That'll definitely help you.
Yes, it will.
Wow.
Alright then, well, I'll use the 5 and the 1 to match that. Then I guess what I do is I try to bring him back into consciousness while I just take one of the blood bags from the medical kit and apply it to him so he doesn't lose too much blood.
So the medical kit has a blood bag in it.
Yes, it's magic.
Sure.
Yeah, magical.
So it's your turn to raise, and what have you done? The thing itself is still bleeding, there's still shards in it and all that stuff.
Holy convenient plot devices, Batman.
Well, do I have to use 2 dice?
You don't have to, but
Okay, cool. Alright, well,
Oh man, you can so beat this.
yeah. Well, what I do is I pull out the metal shards with tweezers, and then I start bandaging up the wound as best as I can. All the while, I'm still using magic to heal the wound.
so you get almost all the shards out, but unfortunately there's one that's just dug itself right into his bone. And
Oh dear.
using a single dice, your thing was resolved. However, seems I only used a single dice, I get that dice back. That's why you
Right.
want to use only 1 dice if you can.
Hmm.
Ultimately, you're given a choice, as the shard of metal is just so deep into the bone, and that is, you can either leave it in there, or remove the bone, which, generally not a good option. However, you get the
definitely.
feeling that if you leave the shard of metal in there, it's going to go septic.
Hmm.
Long story short,
What?
you can't match that, and I've got the 2 highest dice I had left.
Yeah, I thought that was gonna happen.
Yep. I rolled really well with those 2 10s.
Yeah, that was a really good roll.
So, you tried your best, but ultimately, he's gonna lose the hoof.
He can be a pirate with a peg leg now.
So,
Hmm.
we'll get to what happens at the end of that, but from that, you are going to take these 3 dice of fallout. And what that is this was a physical... This was halfway between physical and... It's not talking, but it's definitely a mental thing. So, I reckon one of those should be a D4, and the other 2 should be D6. So could you roll me 2D6 and 1D4? You can do that by going down to the chat window and typing /roll space 1D4 plus 1D6. And no spaces in that mathsy bit.
1d4
Plus 2D6. With no spaces in that part.
Okay, so no spaces at all?
Between roll and the first number, yes, but nowhere else.
Okay, 1d4. I'm trying to look for the plus sign. I can't find it.
Shift equals.
there you go.
You're probably on a pad, aren't you?
Yes, 1d6. Or 2d6.
2.
Okay, 2d6. Oh no, that's terrible.
It's not that bad, actually. So we take the 2 highest
done
results,
worse.
which are 3 and 4, for a total of... Why are those blue? Whatever.
Because he changed his color to blue.
Yeah, but I dragged him out, so why should they be blue for me?
Because he rolled
Huh.
one.
I thought it was the person who dragged him out. Doesn't matter. Now let me just open up the dog's cheat sheet I have here to find out what that is. The first thing we do is check if you have any ones, which you don't, and you want ones. They're what give you experience and all that. However, you don't. So we are going to jump to, is the fallout sum less than 8? If so, your character suffers only short-term consequences. Which seems this is a flashback, isn't really that relevant.
Okay.
If it was in non-flashback time, it would have been... These only happen for the next encounter, basically. That's why they're short-term. It would have been subtract 1 point from one of your character's stats, take a new trait of D4, change one of your character's relationships to D4, or have your character leave the scene and spend some time alone. However, this general scenario is the basically character creation. So I reckon I'm going to give you a 1d6 trait of... Where's the character sheet? There it is. A new 1d6 trait of... There's always more I can do.
Neat.
Much better than what I got.
There's always more I can do doesn't necessarily mean it's a good thing. It means that even if you are completely out of options, you still think to yourself, there's more I can do here. I'm sure I have to succeed. So, just because it sounds good doesn't mean it necessarily is.
Yeah, mine was questioning myself, so you know.
It's always good to question yourself. And I roll all the
I
dice.
succeeded in everything, and I can better.
Sometimes.
So who's eating chips?
I am.
You should be eating jerky and apples.
Right. So, Shooter McCherries, why don't we go through basically the exact same thing that we did just then with you? Only for you, what was something that you wanted to achieve or overcome when you first became a dog?
Well, the first thing I wanted to achieve and overcome was basically, I always found myself to be the best, fastest shooter with my magic. However, though, I found that when the death of my dear late Sheriff Silverstar came on, I lose focus and shoot very wobbly and almost end up hitting innocent ones.
So, erratically.
Yes, I've always hoped to be able to do my job without just the thought of Sheriff Silverstar getting me distracted.
So you've recently had a loss and has kind of made your hoof shaky on the shooting range. And you're back in
It's
practice.
made my horn shaky.
Yes. It's made that kind of shaky during your practices, and people have noticed that. And why don't you roll me your shoot?
Okay, let's see if I know how to do this without
In
messing
your
it up.
character sheet, it is the guns button.
Guns.
It's right up the top.
Okay. Says 0d4. Yeah, I didn't put it in correctly.
No, that's right. You click on it, it then puts the input traits, input value, for any traits that you think are relevant to this.
Ah, yes. I guess that'd be pretty high. 4d4s?
What
That's
trait
fine.
do you have that's relevant to this?
What trait do I have? That would be, likes the smell of gunpowder, so I shot guns all the time.
Yep. So that would be that 3d6 one. Then it's relationships,
If
and I
that's-
don't think you have a... Do you... Who was the person who died again?
Sheriff Silverstar, he died.
See, the fact that you have a relationship with him, and he's dead...
He was mortally wounded then.
Alright.
He was knocked out of commission.
Yeah,
He
his
couldn't
hand kind of got
serve
blown
anymore.
off in a freak backfire accident. Completely unrelated. If only there was a medic there, probably wouldn't have made much difference.
Oh,
Maybe
no,
that was there.
Yep.
And they tried, but they failed. So Sheriff Silverstar, he was alive, but he was taking out a commission. I feel like I always want to do him proud.
So for
I keep flashing
relationships, you
back
can
to
put
the
an
moment he lost his
extra
hoof.
a 1d8 into that.
Alright.
And then for miscellaneous, you're using a gun.
Yeah.
Your guns, plural, is it? 2 of them. So you are using both of them combined, and that is a d8. But it's also a gun, which adds an extra d4.
So that means, what, 1d8, 2d4?
Yep. No, just 1d4.
Yeah. Oh. So 1d4.
You and
Yeah, when I click on
For
guns,
me-
it says 0d4, and I can't change it.
Yeah, that's just the input values. It automatically adds according stats to it. This is just the any extra traits you add to it.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be your 3d6 for likes the smell of gunpowder, 2d8 for Sheriff Silverstar, and 1d8 for the guns and an extra d4 for the guns.
Uh-huh.
you sure he's not sniffing that to get a high?
Close enough. That would be unjust. Cool, so what do I do?
Yeah, you click guns. It puts the input traits is 3d6. Press submit on that. Relationship is 2d8 for your relationship with Silverstar. Submit that, and then 1d8 plus 1d4 for the guns.
Well, a little bit slow. Relationships, I go, what,
2d8 for your relationship with Silverstar.
1d8 in relationships?
It says
Next
that down.
misc?
That would be the guns you're using, so 1d8 plus 1d4.
1d8 plus 1d4?
Yep. And then submit, and that'll give you your roll.
Click and drag to roll the dice. Okay.
That's a good
44
number
out
of
of 1, I
ones.
suppose.
There's a +3 in that for some reason. Don't know where that came from.
I mean, should I just pop these over here?
Or just, move the
Drag
die
them
that happened to
up
me
the
on the
top.
screen.
But yeah. And I'm gonna roll mine.
Oh.
Those are some 10s again.
Oh no. It's going to be a hard day for me.
You actually have more score than the devil himself.
Doesn't really matter. All that matters is what dice you can put out and if they can beat the 2 dice the other person put out. Total number
That
doesn't
is-
really.
That is true.
Just gonna delete that because 3 1s are 2, 3 3s, and 3 5s. And 2 6s.
That is quite the score.
So I reckon you should start first by just going to the shooting range and just kind of being wobbly. Like, you are wobbly and you want to fix that. So how do you go about trying to fix that?
Well, what I do is I try really hard to maybe think about the past and just at the same time think, I'm doing this to Silver Sheriff Star. I'm going to take his place. I'm going to be the best gun.
Yeah, he
I will
lost his
always
hoof
shoot
and
straight.
can no longer sheriff his town.
Yes,
So
I
you
have
were-
to step up and do that.
Which is kind of odd, seems you immediately leave to become a dog afterwards. Or maybe you just got the letter yesterday that he is retiring due to severe injuries in the line of duty, and you've just kind of been shaken by this. Someone who's so important to you.
Absolutely. It affects my ability to shoot straight, so having that news really put a damper in my whatever pants I wear.
No pants.
Maybe you
Only
maybe you're
pants.
trying to get in his pants.
The damper in my holsters.
So why don't you raise by just first shooting? Or however you do it.
What? Sorry?
Raise by putting 2 dice onto the board that I have to meet or beat. And describe
How do I put
what
2 dice on the board?
You can just click and drag them down onto the poker table here.
I'll take 2 of the numbers I have.
Yep.
Mhm.
And describe what you're doing to, just try and get your aim back.
So what I do is I close my eyes and I shoot without looking, but with thinking, feeling that I know what's around me and I can remember that, and just remembering what is in front of me, not what could have happened to Sheriff Silverstar. So I'm shooting blind, but I'm using my imagination to remember what it is I was looking at.
You remember a passage from the Book of Life that I'm going to horribly misquote the book this is actually from, and that is, one does not shoot with their eyes, they shoot with their heart. And I'm pretty sure that's the Dark Tower, but I've only seen the movie.
Yes,
So,
that is correct.
just kind of forces that beat your 5 and kind of do it so well, because you just shoot off and you hit a bullseye on the wrong target.
A bullseye on the wrong target.
Yep. So you're not sure if that's good or bad, but others are quite impressed, which means they're giving you accolades for being able to do this, but you know in yourself, in fact that's what I'm going to raise with, you know in yourself that you didn't do that, and you don't deserve the accolades that you're getting for that shot.
Yep. So I take another action for 2 dice.
Yep, it's you. You now counter these numbers by, basically just describing how you feel about this action, or push it to the side and keep resolve.
Okay, so this is going to help me out a lot. I'm going to... I remember the creed that
Now, this
Sheriff
is...
Silverstone taught me.
It's recommended that if you can exactly match the number, that you do so, because otherwise, I mean, you're over by 3, both of those will go away, and you'll lose them. So if you can match exactly,
Okay.
rather than over, that's always better.
Oh. Yeah, sorry.
I was just giving you an example, you don't necessarily have to.
Yeah, actually, it's a good idea. Yeah, sorry, I misunderstood
Dice
that.
are going everywhere. What's happening?
Okay, it's just... Okay, so I roll that,
Yep.
and what I do is I stop shooting for just a moment. I look down the sights of my guns, holding out my magic, as I try very hard to remember the creed that good old Silverstar used to practice all the time.
So why don't you...
Trying hard to remember it.
Why don't you raise by saying that creed?
Okay, so can I raise with as much as I'd like?
You can raise with as many as 2 dice.
The higher the better?
Depends.
The creed's very powerful.
Yep.
Alright, I'm saying it's going to be a really powerful creed. I do not aim with my hand. Hoof. He who aims with his hoof has forgotten the face of his father. I aim with my eye. I do not shoot with my hoof. He who shoots with his hoof has forgotten the face of his father. I shoot with my mind. I do not kill with my gun. He who kills with his gun has forgotten the face of his father. I kill with my heart.
See, and that's how you quote something without screwing it up. So, this time, you hit the bullseye, but you're like right on the border of it being not the bullseye, you know what I mean? Like, it's an inch wide, you're on the very edge of it. So it's technically a bullseye, but it's just that bit off still.
Just by the tip.
Yeah. Your supervisor, or maybe just one of the other people shooting, is like, he says, well, that's quite impressive, but watch this, and he just shoots and gets a bullseye. He totally hasn't been lining that shot up for ages.
Sorry, you just sort of cut out for just a moment. Say it one more time.
He shoots and gets exactly where your bullet was. And if these were arrows, it would have been an arrow splitting thing, but he just doesn't leave a hole. At first you think he missed, but then you realise he shot the exact same spot you did. Which is either really good, or he missed just as much as you did. Could be one or the other.
He missed.
I mean, he still hit, he just missed by that much.
Okay,
Missed it
I have a
by
retort to
much.
that. But I have to match what you've just rolled, the 11.
Yep.
Gonna have to roll 3, aren't I?
No, that matches.
No?
That matches with just the 2.
Oh, yeah, true. Doing. Sorry. Yeah. Alright. I look over to the fellow pony who shot that shot. I think to myself, I've just made an improvement, and this pony has shot true and very close, just like I did. I see the good in what we've just done, and I'm very happy to see that we've both improved in our shooting. I asked to become friends with this fellow pony and see the good and improvement, rather than focusing on it could have been a challenge or being outbested. But I see only good in it.
Well, he's kind of surprised by this, and it's like, huh, I usually expect kind of more of a rivalry to come from that. And he just kind of, horrible gun safety, like, he's not intending to shoot you, but as he turns to you, he just kind of points, has the gun aimed at your lower section, puts out his hoof with the gun still in it, kind of pointed down to you. Like, this is all unintentionally stupid stuff of, my name is Silver Bullet. And he raises with a single dice.
Okay. Well, so the one way I'm going to be able to match this, right?
Yep.
I was expecting something along the line of Jimbo, but that actually turned out better.
This is resolved as it happens. Yeah, you just kind of shake his hand. You don't exactly disarm him, but the gun goes off. It doesn't hit you, but you've learnt a lesson of gun safety, maybe. And you're just kind of spooked by this as well, as you take a bit of fallout. And it's your turn to raise. Unfortunately, you can't raise. But on the good side, neither can I. So this is kind of a muff. Maybe you're still kind of shaken. You haven't gotten worse, you haven't gotten better.
You ended up
I've
getting
taken
tinnitus.
Yep.
I've taken a hoof step in the right direction.
So, all of that was
Better than
shooting, technically, but I don't want to make you roll 40 tens of fallout damage for that. So I reckon that was probably... It ended with talking, but I'd say the scare was physical. So roll me 4d6 for each of those
Okay.
4 dice.
So, how would
You
you
can
do
do that by going down to the panel at the bottom right of the chat panel, type /roll space 4d6.
4d6.
Harsh and darn it.
I'm going to pull up the cheat sheet again so I know what fallout damage does.
God.
So that is actually very good for you, because we see that there is a 1. And getting a 1 on fallout is how you get bonuses and level up, essentially. And the
Sweet.
total of the highest 2 is only 4, which I believe, again, is only a temporary, a short-term consequence, which seems this is a flashback, doesn't really matter that much. However, like I said, there's a 1 in there, so I'm going to read this verbatim. While your fallout dice are still on the table, check to see if there are any 1s. If so, your character gets something good out of this conflict. And the options are, I'm going to choose when you get something good or when you get something bad, I'm going to choose them. But I'll just give you a list of what they are now. They are, add 1 to one of your stats, create a new trait at 1d6, add or subtract 1 die from an existing trait, change the die size of an existing trait, create a new relationship at 1d6, and I think that one's what's going to happen with Silver Bullet, and add or subtract 1 die from an existing relationship.
Okay, yep. And I guess I hope that I make a new relationship with Silver Bullet.
Yep. Where's the character sheet?
And
Yep.
that is 1d6, right?
Yep. I'm
Question
gonna
is,
add
what
that
kind of
for you.
relationship do you want to have with Silver Bullet? Kinky.
Silver Bullet. And you eventually become good friends with him. He is You actually find out he is Silver Star's cousin. Twice removed, once added.
Sweet.
And he's from, like, one town over from where you live, and he's trying to be a dog as well. Later on, he doesn't quite get in, but he's not set back by this. He's trying again next year type of thing. I'm not sure that's how the dogs work, but we'll just say it is for the sake of it. And as for this opening scenario, I reckon you're going to get a 1d6 trade out of this. I reckon that should be a little shaky.
Okay.
Actually, no, let's change that to
Is
gun safety is important. So you very well know that basically the gun safety rules of even if the gun's not loaded, never point it at someone. Even if your hoof's not on the trigger, and treat a gun as if it's loaded, you know, that type of stuff.
Yes.
yeah, point it down.
Out of curiosity, in this universe, would the guns have trigger guards? Because,
Nah. In this universe,
I mean-
guns are extremely basic, giant pieces of iron. These are
Oh.
like very early guns. These aren't well-made revolvers that'll last, well, they'll last for 100 years, but they're like big, clunky hand cannons.
So, okay, fair enough.
But mine's, of course, being hand cannons. They're hoof made, so that's why mine is silver decorated with flowers on it. So it's like a nice embroidered. It's really homemade with a hammer by a blacksmith.
So I'm going to take everyone back to the town of Liberty.
Yay.
And I'll just give you a brief run-through of what you did last time. Like I said, the night before arriving here, you encountered that creature with the glowing red eyes and just flew up into the air. Upon entering here, you see a few small houses. The green marks are farmland. You cross the bridge, and it's about 6 meters across, but there is flowing water in this little creek. It's only like 1.5 meters across, 1.5 meters. What's that, like 5 feet of water in a 30 feet creek. But there's still flowing water, and that's a good thing in the middle of the desert. The second thing is, once you're just across the bridge, is this lot of farmland here has just vines and stuff growing all through it. It's very unkept. The third thing is all the buildings look like they've been here for 20, 30, 50 years type of thing, except for this building with the circle behind it. And it is kind of brand new, like it's been built within the last year. And in the front of it is a stained glass window that's green with a white cross in the middle of it. You walk up the rest of the town, there's a tavern here, and I don't know what the word for this is. Basically a building with a roof but no walls, so it's just, open air covered. And there was...
A gazebo.
Yes.
Open plan?
It's not Dread. It's not a Dread gazebo, unfortunately. But it's like a big open building. It's not just a small space. Sitting on it were 2 elderly people and a younger woman. The 2 elderly ponies were holding a baby and just going, that kind of thing. And then the younger woman notices you, and grabs her baby and just approaches you and gives you, "Oh my god, you're here! Hey, I have a baby! Look at my baby! I made this! This is my baby!" That kind of new mother. The baby's like 2 weeks old, if that. And along heading in here, there's been a couple of people who have noticed you and started following you, because the dogs arriving in a town is kind of a big deal. And after that, you just finally made it to the church, where the steward, church bell, was waiting for you. Somehow he knew, as if someone just kind of ran ahead, or it was a scripted event and just kind of happened that way. He was waiting for you, he greeted you with his wife Bluebell, and invited you into the church, saying that there was some stuff he had to talk to you about. And that's where we left off.